The Saints just lost to the Bills 31-19. They're starting off 0-4 now for the first time since 2012. However, though, it wasn't a bad loss. I'm at the game. As you can see, I'm not in my usual studio room, whatever you want to call it, at the game in the hotel right now, just doing a quick little recap. It's not going to be the same typical videos we post, but the Saints only lost by 12 to the Bills, and they looked like a much better team than what they looked like last week versus the Seahawks when they lost 50-10 or whatever the hell the score was. This game versus the Seahawks, I think they only had 4 penalties and the Bills had 11. Huge reason why the Saints were able to keep this game relatively close. However, though, of those 4 penalties, 3 of them were on special teams, and the special teams was an issue last week. This week it was an issue, not so much as letting up blocked punts, but hitting the punter in a critical situation at the end of the game. That can't happen. Nephi Sewell brought up from the practice squad to play, better special teams player, hits the punter, gives the Bills a first down late in the game. When the Saints are down 2 scores, just used up all 3 of their timeouts. Wasn't a great look for the special teams. And having 3 of the 4 penalties be on special teams isn't great. Now, Kellen Moore, props to him. He had his players ready to play. He had his players ready to go. And I like the game plan that he had. They ran the ball a shit ton versus the Bills. They had 200 rushing yards. That touchdown run from Kendre Miller was freaking awesome. He broke 2 tackles, broke another tackle, and broke a third tackle. It was crazy. Kendre Miller had an awesome game. Alvin Kamara, rushing-wise, was pretty solid. Spencer Rattler used his legs a lot in this game. Running the football, he looked good out there, had a few juke moves. He was very decisive in running it. That was awesome to see. It was a good game plan. Run the ball, run the ball, run the ball. Ed Oliver was out. The Bills' run defense just wasn't good in general coming into this game with Ed Oliver, and he wasn't in there. Wasn't a big fan of the Saints. Didn't take too many downfield shots. Bill's secondary isn't great. You got Chris Olave, you got Rashid Shaheed, you got Brandon Cooks. And I know the statistic was the Saints have the most down the field shots, are just not connected. It did not feel like the Saints were taking a whole lot of downfield shots in this game. I'll have to rewatch it again. I watched a little bit just to see some replays and stuff. But it felt like the Saints could have went downfield a little bit more. I want to hold this mic like this. It felt like the Saints could have went downfield a little bit more just in general. But I enjoyed the game plan, seeing them run the ball. It was working until, end of the game when you had to start throwing the football. So props to Kellen Moore. He had his guys ready, less penalties. His guys were ready to play. They were lined up. Way better team than what we saw last week in Seattle. Let's stay talking about the offense. Offensive line, starting 5, got to play the first time this season together in Banks, Penning, McCoy, Ruiz, and Taliesin Fuaga. Penning was dealing with an injury, and then Fuaga had an injury. So all 5 of them got to play. Trevor Penning went in the injury tent momentarily. He finished out the game. But then Cesar Ruiz got his ankle rolled up on, I think, early in the third, late in the second quarter. And then he was carted off the field after going in the blue medical tent, so that's not a good look for him. Torricelli Simpkins went in there in help of Cesar Ruiz. He looked okay out there. Definitely something to keep an eye on. I think the protection, outside of a few plays, was actually pretty solid. One play, Ruiz and McCoy had a mix-up, and Rattler got smoked. Towards the end of the game, they were definitely getting some pressure on Rattler when they were trying to throw the ball downfield more. But the starting 5 offensive line definitely played a huge factor into why the Saints had 200 rushing yards in today's game versus the Buffalo Bills. Offensively, Spencer Rattler, this just kind of seems to be the trend with him every week. Doesn't lose you the game, not enough to win you the game. Had some good moments, had some bad moments. I think the biggest issue with him is these down-the-field throws. He missed that touchdown to Brandon Cooks. I still can't tell if that was a catch or not. I can't tell if it's pinned against his leg. But he's got to connect on those. He missed one to Chris Olave last week versus the Seahawks. He missed one to Chris Olave versus the Niners. That could have costed them a win in week 2. And he missed one to Brandon Cooks. He has to hit these throws. And it's starting to become a thing. He's not a quarterback who can hit those throws. And if he wants to remain the starter and be a starting NFL quarterback, he has to make those throws, and he simply isn't. That was 4 points off the board, and at the end of the game, you're not having to score two times. You're having a game-winning drive at the end, which didn't really go anywhere. But He has to start hitting on those throws, especially now we're 0-4. We're about to hit the easier stretch of the schedule. They got the Giants coming up, and then I think they got the Patriots and then the Bears. I don't know who's after the Bears, but those are 3 games. You got to win 1, maybe 2 of those games if you're Spencer Rattler, and you want to stay the starting quarterback, because Jackson Dart just got into the game, played an undefeated Chargers team. Malik Neighbors got hurt, and he has a win, and Spencer Rattler doesn't. And I don't know how to compare the Giants roster to the Saints roster, but they're in the same tier. Like, it's not like the Giants have a whole bunch of all-pros on the offensive line and a bunch of all-pros at receiver outside of Malik Neighbors, and he got hurt. Tyrone Tracy's a solid running back, but it's not like they have a bunch of game changers on that Giants offense. And Jackson Dart got a win against a very, very, very good Chargers defense and a very, very, very good Chargers team. He got a win. In his first NFL start, Spencer Rattler didn't. Now, one guy was a first-round pick, one guy was a fifth-round pick, but seeing Spencer Rattler miss the same exact throw 3 weeks in a row in the end zone, 2 to Olave and 1 to Cooks, it's frustrating. And you start to think, does Tyler Shuck make that throw? Something Spencer Rattler's been struggling with is giving his guys opportunities to get yards after the catch. Tyler Shuck, I think that's one of his strengths that we saw in the preseason and camp. And you gotta at least be at the back of your mind, does Tyler Shuck make that throw? Does Tyler Shuck hit on 2 of these 3 touchdowns? Does he connect on 1 of these 3? Which is better than the 0 for 3 that the Saints are currently at with Spencer Rattler. And I'm not trying to bash on him. I'm just saying if he wants to stay starting, he has to start hitting on these throws. I'm supporting the guy. The dude plays with heart. Like, it's really hard not to root for him, but he's got to make those throws. Like, he has to start hitting on passes beyond 10 yards. Defensively, I'd say for the most part, the Saints' defense was pretty solid. Opening drive was pretty rough. Couldn't tackle Khalil Shakir on that opening screen touchdown drive. I think he broke like 5 tackles. Broke DeMario Davis's tackle, which is crazy. Like, he's been one of the better linebackers in the league. Oh, before I forget, offensively, how about the Saints special? They had the Philly special with the touchdown. The Saints ran their own version of that, and it resulted in a pick at the goal line. And you got to think, if they just run the ball again there, or if they kick a field goal there, or score a touchdown there, what does the game look like at the end? Like, there's just a bunch of missed opportunities in this game. Chris Olave had a pretty bad drop. He had another drop. He threw the pick. Like, pretty rough game for Chris Olave. He did catch the touchdown from Rattler. That was a really good pass. But this game was just a lot of missed opportunities for the Saints. I wasn't expecting them to win, but if they were to win, they have to capitalize off of these opportunities. Like Jonas Sanker getting a pick, they didn't capitalize off of that. They got in the red zone, literally towards the goal line versus the Bills before halftime, threw a pick on a trick play. You got to just do the simple stuff right, and they're dropping passes like Chris Olave had. And there's another missed opportunity. Pete Warner dropped a pick in the red zone. Like, it would have set the Saints up right there. Just a lot of missed opportunities in this game for the Saints. I wasn't expecting them to win, but if they capitalize on those opportunities, they might. If they don't throw that pick on a trick play to run the Saints special of a pick, that's the Saints special right there. Say they kick a field goal there, that puts the Saints at 22. Say they get that pick from Pete Warner and get a field goal there, that puts the game at 25-31. Say they score a touchdown either off the Jonas Sanker pick or the Brandon Cooks play, the game is 31-32 or 31-31. 3 simple opportunities that they missed, and it wasn't even like it's not something that was within the realm to do. They could have easily done it. Pete Warner could have caught that pick. Brandon Cooks could have made that catch. Spencer Rattler could have made a better throw. They could have had a better play design in the red zone before halftime instead of running the Philly special. And I'm not mad at them for running it, because if it works, they're a genius. Olave just didn't throw the best pass. And even if that guy doesn't pick it, Rattler's turning in, and it looks like that defenders are ready to hit him. So I'm not sure if Rattler holds on to that. And then the Jonas Sanker pick, they did nothing with that. So that's 4 simple opportunities that the Saints couldn't capitalize on. Defensively, the Saints had 3 sacks. I believe Josh Allen was only sacked 4 times coming into this game. Cam Jordan had a sack. Carl Granderson had an excellent sack, and then he had that awesome 4th down stop, which the Saints did nothing with. or they might have gotten a field goal off of it. I can't remember, but Granderson had a good game. Brian Brzee got a sack. The defensive line in the front was pretty solid. They were struggling versus the run game. Josh Allen is just a freaking beast, dude. There's some plays in there, like the Saints may have missed some tackles on Josh Allen, but that's also the MVP just doing MVP type of plays. Having Carl Granderson on coverage on Dalton Kincaid or Dawson Knox, whoever caught that wide open touchdown, is crazy. Like, why is he in coverage on a tight end? That's pretty wild. Let me think. Jonas Sanker, man, excellent game. He had 1 pick and then 2 pass breakups outside of that pick, 3 if you include it. Awesome game from the rookie. That interception was incredible. Ball hawking play. He had 2 really good pass breakups, 2 awesome pass deflections. He saved a touchdown, but they gave up a touchdown the next play, but his tackling was pretty good. I think he had 5 tackles. Really awesome day for the young rookie player, and that's what we want to see. We want to see young players step into a role of who can be part of the foundation in the future for the team. He filled that role today. The Saints may have lost, but we won because Jonas Sanker might be a guy who the Saints can build a defense around, and the defense isn't necessarily great at the moment. We got to see Quincy Riley play a lot of football today. I think Yadam was in there for like the first drive or so, and then Quincy Riley was starting the rest of the game. Like, we're starting to see the rookies come in. Riley didn't really make too many noticeable plays, but he has good footwork. He has a really good break on the ball. Yeah. And you got to assume with Quincy Riley getting ramped up and Jonas Sanker getting ramped up, and we were talking about Spencer Rattler earlier, is Tyler Shuck getting ramped up? Is he getting ready to play sometime soon? What's exactly the plan with him? We're a quarter of the way done with this season. We're 4 games in. Like, the season's a quarter of the way done. They may not have a win, but the season's more so about seeing who's a building piece and who's not. And Jonas Sanker proved that today. Alontae Taylor and Kool-Aid were struggling today. Groupie made all his kicks, I believe, today. So props to him, bounce back. But cannot for the life of him kick the ball in the landing zone. Like, what the hell's going on there? Why can you not kick it in the freaking landing zone? No clue. So I think that's about everything I can think about. That 4th down play, turnover on downs, that pass to Alvin Kamara, he should have turned differently, but I'm not going to blame AK on that because it's easier to see when from the camera television than if you're catching a pass. You can't see who's behind you coming from which way. But that's a play you usually see AK make, and he simply just didn't make it on that one. Juwan Johnson didn't have any drops today, so props to him. I think that's about everything. I'm really looking forward to see what the Saints do in the next 2 weeks. If they lose to the Giants, what did they do at quarterback? Really excited to see Jonas Sanker. Really curious to see who's at right guard if Cesar Ruiz is out long term. He was carted off. That didn't look like a very good injury. Like, it looks pretty bad having to be carted off. Torres Simpkins was in there. We'll see if Dalen Radens, if he comes back from injury, if they move him to right guard. Simpkins, I'll have to rewatch and see how he did, but he's obviously someone we have to consider for that right guard spot. And I'm trying to think if there's anything else from this game. Got a little sunburnt. Fun experience, though. The Bill Stadium's awesome. Kendra Miller, awesome. Rattler looks solid. Just, he has to hit on those deep passes. Kai Kroger had a few solid punts as well. Props to him. And I think that's about everything. I can't think of anything else that I'm missing right now. I'm just trying to do a quick recording, get this posted, and then we'll do more like of our typical content, later on in the week. But starting off 0-4, not great, but I think how this game played out versus the Bills is a win within a loss. Like, we're expecting the Saints to lose 90% of their games, but in a vacuum and within the context of that, this is a really good game for the Saints as a team, the coaching staff. They just have to clean up the special teams, the throws downfield. Some of the tackling stuff is still iffy, but seeing some young guys out there play and making some plays was awesome. So if you made it through this 15-minute video, I appreciate you. Make sure to like and subscribe. I'm Cash. We'll be back with our usual content throughout the week, and I'll catch you next time. Have a good one.